What is up, everybody? Welcome to the penultimate week of the PGA Tour. We're on to the BMW Championship after a very, very late finish at the Northern Trust, but we did get to see our guy. I think it's probably safe to say our guy, pretty much everyone's guy, Tony Finau, pick up his second PGA Tour win, his first in quite some time. And I mean, yeah, Jon Rahm was maybe kind of kicked it away. Cam Smith also going out of bounds on his first tee shot in the playoffs, but we can't take anything away from Tony Finau, and we're moving on to the BMW Championship at a brand new course for the PGA Tour at Caves Valley Golf Club. So welcome on in to the FanDuel PGA Q&A for this week. I'm your host, Brandon Gdula. I'm the managing editor over at numberFire.com. I'll be breaking down the entire field, the FanDuel slate from like a game theory perspective, the betting odds, my win simulations, and whatever else you would like, because this is a Q&A format. So just hit up the comment section on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch if you have questions for this week's event. I'm going to start, as I always do, by just looking at the field here. And there is one name getting a ton of love from a betting standpoint, and that is Jon Rahm at plus 650 to win on FanDuel Sportsbook. Justin Thomas, the only other golfer shorter than plus 2,000. He is listed at plus 1,800. Then we have Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, all at 20 to 1. Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, Tony Finau, 22 to 1. Patrick Cantlay, Rory McIlroy, 23 to 1. And then we do start to get to a bit of a drop off after Brooks Koepka, Louis Oosthuizen, and Cam Smith at 25 to 1, and then we jump down into that 30 to 1 range. Now, we have 69 golfers in the field, so it's a nice size for this week, but no cut. You have to make it to the top 30 in the FedEx Cup standings to play in the Tour Championship next week. But as you can tell from this field, super strong, super deep for this week, and that kind of changes a lot of stuff. No cut does change the way that we play things. And as I talk about kind of all the time, a no-cut event feels like maybe it's a week where we just kind of punt very frequently. And I do think there are low-salaried plays in contention for this week. But based on the research I have done, you really can't get careless, because some golfers will just fall behind over 4 rounds, even though they're guaranteed rounds, and they might as well have missed the cut. So you kind of want to avoid that. Despite that, again, I do think there are some golfers, even in the 7,000 range, that we can bank on. Whether we have to do that or not is kind of up to whether we're building around superstars. And I mean, Jon Rahm, his salary is $12,000 on FanDuel, so it's really not that hard to get to him. He's not that much higher than anyone else. Xander Schauffele at 11.7. So I mean, I think we're just going to play Jon Rahm in a lot of cash games, lock him into cash games, as I talked about on the Heat Check PGA podcast with Jim Sonis earlier today. Kind of thinking about 60 to 70% exposure for Jon Rahm in tournaments, which sounds crazy, but in my win simulation model, he's over 50% likely to finish in the top 10 with how good he's been. So I think it's just Jon Rahm week once again, and we kind of go from there. Again, if you have any questions, hit up the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch comments section, and I will get to those. It can be head-to-heads. It can be some golfers you're thinking of outright bets. But for now, I will dig into the course Caves Valley, because there's not a whole lot of information. I did my best in my course primer on numberFire.com. We have a par 72 this week that's over 7,500 yards. And the average green size rating out at 5,200 square feet, bent grass greens, unresponsive page. So I'll just leave this for a second, but it has been lengthened recently to get up to PGA Tour standards. And these greens are smaller than average at 5,200 square feet. Average on the PGA Tour is around just over 6,000. So not substantially smaller. We actually had small greens last week in that like 4,500 range, but scores did go low last week. So I'm going to close out of that here. Anything else relevant on the GCSA page? We have bent grass greens, as I mentioned, reduced bunkers. They did narrow down the fairways, but not a whole lot of information for the course. It's actually pretty pretty exclusive from what I can tell. Not a whole lot of golfers I think will be familiar with it. I would kind of imagine golfers who miss the cut have a little bit of a leg up in a sense, just because they might have more time to prepare for this. Now, golfers who missed the cut but also made it to the top 70, some of the better golfers, including Colin Morikawa, Dustin Johnson, Jason Kokrak. So, it's an angle, I think, at least, especially with, and I wouldn't feel quite so strongly about that if it wasn't for the fact that we had a late Monday finish. So it's just something, especially at a course where we don't really know anything. Now, if you do look at I'll go back to the betting odds here. You look at some of the longer hitters, and they kind of are getting bumped down, as in closer to favorite status. Jon Rahm, super big favorite. This is actually something that Jim Sonis pointed out to me on the Heat Check podcast. I mean, it kind of clicked, but once he said that, I was like, yeah, this makes a ton of sense. Bryson at plus 2,000, he's been a lot lower than that. DJ falling back a little bit after the missed cut, but still up there. Not a huge overreaction. Tony Finau, partially the win, but also super big hitter. Cameron Champ, 65-1. I think whenever you see Cameron Champ, he's probably like a good barometer in a lot of senses for just how is the rest of the field kind of shaping up. And if you see Cam Champ, I know it's a smaller field, and Cam Champ also seems to be a little bit shorter than usual, shorter than he probably should be most weeks, because he has converted some wins. But Cam Champ, just a really long hitter. So I think that's kind of the most obvious angle for the week, especially with the course rating out over 7,500 yards. So I think that's kind of one of the key stats for this week is not just driving distance, though, strokes gained off the tee. And strokes gained off the tee actually comes a lot more from driving distance than just fairways hit. So I think for me, the key stats for Caves Valley are going to be just kind of ball striking first and foremost. So strokes gained approach, strokes gained off the tee. If you look at the hole by hole, which I have in my article on numberFire, but page wasn't working. Lots of long par threes. And so proximity from either 175 plus or more specifically 200 plus, which you can find on PGA Tour's website. I think that's relevant for this week. Just because we have longer par threes, we're going to see a lot of longer approach shots into greens, especially for shorter hitters. So if we can find some shorter hitters who actually have good proximity numbers with those long irons or hybrids from 200 plus, 175 plus, something like that, I think that could be an angle for this week. Question from DJ on Facebook. Thoughts on Erik van Rooyen? So Van Rooyen is an elite tee to green golfer generally. I will just pull him up on the Data Golf query rather than my spreadsheet, just because this includes all European Tour stuff. And I don't know exactly how many of his rounds would come from the European Tour. It looks like none over the past 6 months, but while I'm here, I'm just going to stick with it. If you look at him over the past 6 months, typically a good tee to green golfer hasn't quite been there. 60th out of 69, again, 69 golfers this week, tee to green. The irons have been particularly bad. So let's dig closer into him on the Data Golf log here. Won the Barracuda, which isn't going to have any of those granular strokes gained. It's also stable for an event, so it's not quite the same, but that's, you can't really knock even an alternate field win. An alternate field going to be still pretty strong relative to everything else, but you see all these missed cuts here. That's kind of hard to get behind. Now, I like Erik van Rooyen generally because we can see him gain strokes with the off the tee play and generally with the approach. I guess he's been a little more spotty than I kind of realized overall, but when his sample was smaller, he rated out as a really good tee to green golfer. But that 7th last week at the Northern Trust came a lot from putting. And that is not typically what you want to see, especially for someone whose game isn't particularly based around putting. He's had some, one strong year putting kind of baseline. Other than that, a little bit negative. So I'm not necessarily chasing Erik van Rooyen. He's not someone that I'm looking to build around, again, I would still be willing to buy in to the tee to green performance that he's capable of. We've seen him kind of linger in, a little bit tougher fields sometimes, but for me, I'm looking elsewhere other than EVR for this week. Alex Noren, I'll also just because I'm here, keep it simple. Over the past 6 months, Alex Noren, 59th in approach, really good short game, which is kind of what you expect from Noren. Third in putting in that sample. Let's pull him up, take a closer look at the week by week. For me, generally, I don't care what your salary is. Now, I did like Noren at the Open, but if you are basically like worldwide pro average with your off the tee and your approach, so that's your ball striking stats. If you're basically average, and he has been for the most part in his career, that's not going to draw a whole lot of attention for me, especially whenever the bookmakers' odds are implying heavily that it's going to be a distance-based course. Now, if you look at the finishes from Noren, he's got the 3 top 16s and 2 top 5s in his past 5 starts. But again, the T4 at the Northern Trust did so with a really strong putting performance. The irons were there, not the off the tee play, and good around the green numbers. So not necessarily what I'm looking for. Actually, I'm going to pull up Fantasy National. I'll just pull up anyone who played last week and go to the Northern Trust because I want to know more specifically where Noren ranked putting first and Erik van Rooyen fourth. So those are kind of outliers. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't replicate that. Putting is not completely random, but you do want to see better tee to green numbers than them. And, you can see here they're down around average with Noren 1.2. I don't even know where EVR wound up, but 1.9. So again, and I talked about this on the heat check this morning too. 1 week of data is not enough to draw conclusions. So that's why you want those longer samples. And I think at least 6 months, you're going to get 14 events. I think that's pretty good sort of baseline. I do look at like 20 rounds and 3 months sometimes just to see who's like really playing well currently. But I think you want to expand that a little bit more. And if you look at the past 12 months for Noren, 53rd tee to green. So that's kind of my problem with Noren. He's actually, if I'm not mistaken, generally better in the World Golf. Okay, so he's not better in the World Golf rankings than the Data Golf's rankings. I like Data Golf's rankings because obviously they're data-based, but do a better job, I think, of adjusting for field strength, looking at the underlying data. But Noren typically seems like he's someone who is a bit higher in the win odds than kind of pops up in my model. So for me, not necessarily looking at Alexander Noren, and I don't want to just kind of brush over some recommendations. So I will bring up my spreadsheet now for the week. These are the top 5 in salary, but I'll go and look at Erik van Rooyen. So he's 8,300. I mean, that's a good salary, right? All things considered. And we see the outlier odds here at 80-1 for him. Just one of the weaker guys in my combo model, which is basically your long-term adjusted form and then how you rank out in the stats that I'm looking for the week. So 53rd there. And then I don't even know Noren. Okay, Noren's 8,600. So again, pretty solid, win odds from a sportsbook standpoint, but not necessarily from what my win simulation model says. Same for Van Rooyen, a little bit overvalued there. So I'm not chasing, and I mean, it makes sense. Both top 10 performances last week, I typically see those overreactions. So I'm not going there, but instead you can see some value golfers I like. Similar salaries, Jason Kokrak, again, missed the cut last week, but a much better tee to green player. So he is 53rd percentile tee to green, Noren 19th, Van Rooyen 22nd. And for me, strokes gain data, when I cite that, that's from the past year, but it is weighted for both field strength and recency. So more recent rounds get more weight. So for me, Kokrak makes more sense. Cam Tringali as well. Charlie Hoffman and possibly Brian Harman. I'm a little bit lukewarm on Harman because his approach numbers are pretty bad. All things considered, 16th percentile. But he is one of a few golfers who played here in 2007, which I know sounds like it's been a long, long time ago, and it has been, but there was a college event here, the Palmer Cup in 2007. Dustin Johnson played here, Brian Harmon, Billy Horschel, Webb Simpson, and I think Chris Kirk played here. So for the fact that this is an exclusive club, I think there's a little bit of credence to that, but no, in the lower salary range, I prefer a lot of other golfers to those two specifically, but those are good shout outs, DJ, because it's always good to look at guys who finish top 10 one week and see, hey, is this, or are we kind of missing something? And then I think even if we dig lower, which we don't have to, Max Homa, Emiliano Grillo, and Taylor Gooch rating out fairly well for me. They kind of have some good data. Tita Green relative to the salary. So I'm looking at those guys more in the lower salary range. But again, thanks for the question, DJ. So I'm going to go back up to the top of the salary pool because I don't have any other questions. Again, if you have questions, hit up the YouTube chat, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you'd like, whatever you're watching this on, and I will get to those. But for now, I'm going to jump back up to the top of the salary pool for the BMW Championship and look at specifically Jon Rahm first and foremost, because his win simulations, or my win simulations, have him winning this thing 11.4% of the time. Basically, everyone else is around 3.8% or lower. I think Patrick Cantlay is second at 3.8%, but super big cluster. We see that in the sportsbook odds. We see that in my win simulations. The top 10 numbers above 50%. It's just crazy. And while I'm actually talking about this, I will kind of, again, my data accounts for recency. And again, I don't use 20 rounds as a sample, but Jon Rahm, unsurprisingly, first overall in total strokes gained. Their data golf's true strokes gained. But the rate at which he's doing that, a 4.08, is basically 2 strokes better than all but 3 golfers. And that's not even over the field average. It's these are the other golfers golfing at their peak and a super recent sample. And Rahm is twice as good as other golfers' peaks right now. So that is why he is so heavily favored this week. It's just why I think that you can't really make a case against Jon Rahm in cash games. So if you're playing head-to-heads, even small field events, you just look at this ball striking data. It's virtually always a green. He's a really good wedge player for being such a long hitter. And I don't like to look just at finishes, but whenever you see good tee to green data, good ball striking data, and it's leading to good finishes, that is exactly what you want to look for. So for me, Rahm is clearly the number one. I think you can be just overweight in him in tournaments. He was around 38% rostered on FanDuel this week. I would assume that goes up to about 45%, possibly even 50% because of the field being smaller and Rahm nearly winning again. And I typically would want to say, hey, I'm not going to roster a golfer at 50%, roster rate, but we're going to know it's a no cut event. So you can't even really play the angle of hey, maybe Rahm has a bad Thursday and just barely misses the cut. The odds that Jon Rahm goes from beating everyone else's peak by 2 shots per round to being irrelevant this week, it's going to take such an outlier. So I'm not really there fading Jon Rahm. And I can't really argue against any of these other golfers at the top, but for me, I think because I'm playing so much Jon Rahm, realistically, I will need to save some salary. So I'm going to look to a few guys here. Dustin Johnson coming off a missed cut. Patrick Cantlay and Victor Hovland. All good salaries relative to expectations here. Really good, data for DJ, even though we kind of think of DJ not being in his proper form, which he really isn't, all things considered, but still 93rd percentile in adjusted tee to green performance over the past year with all my adjustments. Just doesn't really hit fairways. That's the only red flag in his profile. A positive bent grass putter. Hard to argue against that. He's going to make birdies. You could maybe say that he just isn't engaged, but we're basically looking at lots of money on the line this week at a course where, and I made this joke earlier today too, but DJ's played here. Other golfers haven't. Whether DJ remembers playing here, I don't know, because he seems like he doesn't really like remember every round he's ever played, which is understandable. But like I've heard him say in the past that he's not totally certain that he's played courses. But either way, I think DJ is going to be a super strong leverage play this week, with everyone else sort of gravitating toward Jon Rahm at the top. Patrick Cantlay, just 10,700. If you start with Rahm and Cantlay, I'll just pull up Rahm again, but basically getting like no worries here in any of the data. Super consistent, super balanced profiles between each guy. And you can probably throw Victor Hovland into that mix too. I mean, Xander is like the poster boy for consistency and rating out well in every stat, but his salary is 11,700, so a little bit more problematic to get to than just Patrick Cantlay or Victor Hovland. Cantlay, a really strong bent grass putter. Hovland, a little bit negative, but overall not a huge question mark. And if he doesn't break his putter again, probably going to putt better than he did last week. So I think that's kind of how I'm looking at the top of the field, with a lot of Jon Rahm and then bumping down to Patrick Cantlay and Victor Hovland for this week. And then because it is a strong field, we have a pretty solid like mid-tier. Paul Casey, I think, is a great play. He's 8th in my stats model for this week, but 17th in salary. Stats and form model, I should say. I combine the both of them. And then for the absolute mid-range, we have a lot of names. I wouldn't be against Abraham Answer. I wouldn't be against Daniel Berger, honestly, either. But Abe Answer, I think it makes a lot of sense if we think that distance isn't a must, and he does still gain strokes off the tee. 75th percentile there over the past year, with some adjustments baked in. Webb Simpson, not the best form his health is, but wouldn't really hate that either. I think Hideki is a great play this week if it is going to be a tee to green golf course, and if he can just make some putts. That's obviously where he struggles most. Great elsewhere, just a poor putter. For me, Harris English, a little bit too heavy on the short game right now, with the ball striking not rating out as well as some of these other golfers in this field. And then Corey Connors, Shane Lowry, Joaquin Niemann, Sam Burns all make sense. And if you're looking for like a distance build, I mean, it's a pretty easy case to go with Niemann and Burns as some sort of lower end value plays. And then possibly even Charlie Hoffman. I think that's a pretty strong, that could be a pretty strong sort of archetype build for this week. Build around Jon Rahm, build around some of those lower end values with good driving data for this week. How do I feel about Chris Kirk? All right, let me look. Chris Kirk. Understandably, low win odds here, but good around the green play. Not a whole lot of birdies from him. Let me look closer at him from a sort of Chris Kirk. All right. Again, he is someone who played here. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see more positive numbers in the approach play. A little bit more positive off the tee. Where does he rank? Yeah, not the best tee to green, but I mean, for the salary of 7,200, I wouldn't hate it. But for me, I'm going to go with Taylor Gooch is down there, 7,400. I'd really recommend finding an extra 200 in salary to get up from Kirk to Gooch, or even Grillo and Max Homa. But that's kind of what I'm seeing with Kirk. Don't necessarily love that for this week, but I really couldn't talk you out of it because he does have some of the better odds down here. So, man, I'm usually a Chris Kirk guy, but I'm going to say for me, it's going to be Taylor Gooch. Really find that salary to get up to Taylor Gooch this week. That is going to be all the time I have for today. I'm going to bring on Jim Sonis, and we're going to transition over to the MLB portion of the show.
When
Jim,
did you add in the dots and the arrows and stuff like that? It's pretty fancy.
Like a year ago.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, it's been on there for like forever.
Are you sure? Because like I've watched most of these things.
Yeah.
And paid very close attention to every word you said, just the same as when we're on a podcast together. And for some reason, I've never noticed these arrows and stuff.
Yeah, that's been there. Actually, since we started doing this, in January or something?
I have no idea. I can't remember like this morning, much less January.
I set all this up in like January. It's like 1,000,000 degrees in here too, and I had the fan going, and then my throat was getting a little dry, and I was like, I need Jim to come on and like spell me here. I should have brought you on earlier.
Relief pitcher, relief talker. Yeah. All right. Well, how are you feeling about things this week after looking through your sheets? Feeling good?
Yeah, I feel great, Jim. I think this week is going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to see John Rahm contend and then see if anyone else can take him down. And I would assume, based on probability, someone will. Because I
golf tournament. Are you prepared to lose in the bobble hat for the 37th time in the past 38 weeks?
Yeah, it's been kind of rough. I've been blowing a huge lead in our head-to-head competition against Jim. I'm up 1. I gotta get my magic number is 1.
Trying to get a friend for old Bubba Wallace over here. So good luck. You're
I need
back
a new
against
hat.
The wall. Yeah, I need more bobbleheads. Anyway, Brandon, go shower. I don't know what else to tell you to do. Go shower. I don't know. Go shower or something. I feel like that's appropriate.
Am I that sweaty?
No, I don't know. You said you were hot, so just go shower, bud.
I had to turn the fan off, and then it got super hot in here.
Why'd you turn the fan off?
Because it's making my throat dry. Did you listen to anything I said?
No.
I said I needed.
It is well established. I've never listened to you in my life.
But that's why, like I said.
Also, you've got numberFire Slack yelling at me because they think that I think marinara is some great like pasta sauce. I just said it was better than Alfredo. Now people are very confused, and it's your fault. This is all your fault.
You flipped that.
What? Oh,
yeah. You said you liked Alfredo more.
I do. Not Anthony, to be clear. I just like Alfredo sauce better than marinara. But people think that I think that Alfredo is the best sauce, which I don't. It's just better than marinara, which is very acidic and very trashy. So you've derailed my whole day. Anyway, I'm behind. I like usually if we pull up the screen share here, usually I am done with the next day's starters by the time we go on here.
Yeah.
And I am nowhere even close. This is because of you. This is your fault.
Cal says vodka sauce is the best sauce. Which no. I started getting. I mean, it was just it's not.
Vodka sauce is better than straight marinara. I will say that. Between
marinara and Alfredo, marinara is better. That was the conversation.
No, get out of here, Cal. Can you kick him out? Get him out of here. Anyway. That's Brandon Gdula. Follow on Twitter at Gdula13. We are now going to kick off our MLB DFS Q&A for today. Luckily, we do know who is starting for today. We have full data. We can dive on in. It's a pretty fun slate, too, because we got a lot of aces. Shohei Ohtani is here. Zach Wheeler, Lucas Giolito, Robbie Ray. We got some younger guys, Luis Castillo, Brandon Woodruff, Walker Buehler, and Blake Snell, but then also some younger guys here. So a lot to discuss for today. So feel free to get those questions in no matter where you're watching, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter. Send those questions in and we'll get you set for today's slate of MLB DFS. Let's start things off here with Clint over on YouTube. Clint says, do the Giants tee off again tonight? I think so, Clint. I like them quite a bit. And I'm hoping that people don't. I was kind of bummed, honestly, when the Giants lit it up last night because I was really hoping that they would be able to fly under the radar. And it's tougher for them to fly under the radar when they're beating up on Tyler McGill. So I don't know what the lineup will look like yet because both the Brandons are in doubt as we kick Brandon Gdula out of here. We got Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt both in question of whether they'll play tonight. So it's a lineup that could fluctuate based on who actually plays. So as of right now, I like the Giants, but I do want to see who is in the lineup for today and if we can feel good about who is able to play. But as of right now, Clint, I do like them quite a bit. facing up against Taijuan Walker. Good results as always, but the peripheral's lagging a bit. This is over his past 6 starts. With his splitter used to being back up, letting up a lot of fly balls, not getting a lot of strikeouts. That's a rough combination. And the Giants offense, very, very good. So, Clint, I would like to stack the Giants. Hopefully their lineup is in before we close up for today. And I can give you a more definitive answer on that one. DJ is asking a Philly-Boston stack with Josiah Gray as my pitcher. Thoughts? Let's start with Gray here. I think he's interesting. Super low salary, facing the Marlins. We like both those things. And he's a good pitcher. 28% strikeout rate across the 6 outings between the Dodgers and the Nationals. The one downside and the reason that Gray is not my favorite value play for today is that the pitch count is not super high. He has gone 82, or I think it's 71. I think 71 outing was his first one with the Nationals. 71, 82, 87, 87. You'd like that a bit longer. So I think that's the one downside with Josiah Gray is pitch count. I think he's still at least in play because maybe they'll let him go deeper, but I prefer Edward Cabrera over him making his debut. We can talk more about Cabrera later on. But Josiah Gray in play, I would say, DJ, but not my preferred value option. And then he's asking about Philly and Boston stacks. I like the Boston stack a lot, facing off with Bailey Ober, not getting enough strikeouts, not suppressing hard contact enough. So Red Sox are the top stack for me. As far as Philadelphia goes, the Phillies are facing Ryan Yarbrough. I don't hate it because he does let up fly balls. He doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. His velocity was down his most recent time out, which is first start back off the COVID list. So that is positive. The one reason I'm not like super itchy to stack the Phillies is that Yarbrough does a tremendous job suppressing hard contact. So that's a pretty big concern for me in terms of stacking. Again, it's not going to toss them out of play for me. I think that they are a team we could consider stacking, but it is one downside. Let's pull up the contact numbers against Yarbrough in his first start back, because again, that velocity was down. And if the contact numbers deviated a lot, we could maybe get more jazzed about stacking against him. Only 2 hard hit balls on 13 balls in play. They were both barreled, but still a bit tougher there. So Philly's an option, but not super high on my list. Let's talk to Kyle. Targets for a potential Los Angeles Angels stack. The bummer is we can't use Shohei Ohtani because he is a pitcher for today on FanDuel, which means he is not in play for stacking for us. The good thing is Ohtani should be in the lineup, and that means that everyone else in that lineup benefits from his presence. It means more plate appearances, more potential for RBIs, more potential for runs scored. So having Ohtani in there is good, even if we can't use him as our pitcher or hitter for tonight. So in terms of the Angels, probably looking at Upton. I'm not sure if he'll play. He was out of the quad issue, I think quad or calf issue yesterday. So not a certainty he'll play. Jared Walsh did get on base a couple times last night. Max Stassi is a catcher, so we can't really know for sure that he'll play. But I feel like if these guys were in there, Walsh, Upton, Stassi, those would be the first guys you turn to. After them is Joe Adell and Brandon Marsh, the primary guys for me. Let's pull up the Angels numbers versus righties this year. Adell still has not been great since he came back up, but he's shown power, and I think that's at least worth something here. Still striking out quite a bit. 28% strikeout rate versus righties. A 113 ISO. 27% fly ball rate. That's okay. Brandon Marsh, probably my preferred guy between the two. Good results thus far. Hitting the ball hard. Striking out a lot too, but I think that he's probably my preferred option between the two. So Marsh would be fourth behind Upton, Stassi, and Walsh. And then goes Marsh, Adell. Don't really want to use any of the like non-power guys. They're all pretty boring. So I think those would be the main guys I would turn to there. Savon, thoughts on Gilbert? No, not enough strikeouts. In his 2 starts, a 14% strikeout rate. I know the Pirates are really bad, but he's not a guy who profiles to be a great DFS pitcher. Again, I know he threw the no hitter. I know that's great. That's awesome. Good for him. And you can never take that away from him, but I'm not going to use him as a pitcher. I think I'd rather use batters facing him, like a Reynolds type guy. Chavis, I think, is in play. I think I'd rather use those guys than use Gilbert as my pitcher. Savon, how would you rank the Chicago White Sox? I wouldn't use them facing Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray is a very talented pitcher, gets a lot of strikeouts, does not let up a lot of balls in play. You can use him for one-offs if you want, because like he lets up home runs, but that is very much not my style. I don't do that personally. So no White Sox for me. John, how would you stack the Dodgers for tonight? I probably wouldn't. Blake Snell's another guy who doesn't let up a lot of balls in play. This is over his past 6 starts with a lot of sliders, a 32% strikeout rate, 13% walk rate. That means he's letting the ball in play. Math. Like 44% of the time. That could be off. I think it's 44. No, he's letting the ball in play like 56% of the time. Wow, math is bad. 56% of the time he's letting the ball in play. That's really low. Whereas Bailey Ober, for example, is at like 75. Zach Plesac is at about 80%. So we want to maximize balls in play, maximize chances for impactful contact. Snell doesn't get us that. So I'm not super high on the Dodgers for today. Savon, can you rank the Cincinnati hitters for tonight? They're facing Brandon Woodruff, so no, I would not use them there. Mateo, I got my Boston bats and Miami pitcher, so which 2 other stacks do you like? So if you're going Miami, which means you're going with Edward Cabrera, that means you can kind of go nuts with your second stack if you want. I do still like the Giants in that scenario. They are not a super high salary team, so not like you're splurging, but I think just straight up, they're a pretty good option. I would say your second stack there, Mateo, if you have a lot of salary to spend, would be Cleveland facing Jake Latz. And Cleveland is kind of a thin team in terms of the number of guys we actually want to use. But the guys we like there, Rosario, Ramirez, Reyes, they're all pretty good. So I would say if you're going with Cabrera, go with the Red Sox and Cleveland as your primary 2 stacks. Alvin, which team best fits a 3-man stack from the Giants, the Cleveland, or the Giants, the Giants, Cleveland, or the Angels? I would say both Cleveland and the Angels are pretty well suited for a 3-player stack. Specifically because Cleveland has like only 3 guys I want to use. So Alvin, I would say it depends on where your salary is at. If you need to save some salary, go the Angels, go with Walsh, Upton if he's in there, Stassi, et cetera, Marsh. If you can afford to spend up for some studs, Rosario, Ramirez, Reyes, those are the guys you want to go with. So I'm okay with either, Alvin. I'd say the Giants are great for like a 4-player stack personally. But if you're choosing between those options, I would say Cleveland if you have salary to splurge, Los Angeles if you do not. Savon is asking if we can get an Adolis Garcia home run. He's facing Zach Plesac. Garcia has not been very good recently, but hey, let's pull up the numbers here. Let's dig on in. I think that Plesac is a pitcher who can definitely let up some runs, can definitely let up some dingers as well. Problem is it's hard to stack Texas just because they are so bad. But hey, let's check out Adolis Garcia, see what he's been doing recently, and see if we can drum up some enthusiasm for him for tonight. All righty, there we go. And let's look at the past 3 weeks. So about August, let's just do August 1st, whatever. Since August 1st, 37% strikeout rate. Yikes, that's not ideal. Still hitting for power, which is good. Not stealing bases, though. That's kind of annoying, whereas he was previously. Let's go over to the StatCast data, see what we got cooking over here. And a couple barrels, it's been fine. The barrel rate is fine. Let's look more quickly at the strikeout rate here and see if that's been trending the right way. Kind of looks like it hasn't. So I think that Adolis Garcia is an option just because he is a good hitter facing a not elite pitcher, but the current form does scare me enough where I'm not super, super jazzed to go there. Let's talk to Fitzy84. If you're playing a single entry, what would be the best strategy to go with that? A 4-man stack or a 3-man stack? I would try to get 2 4-player stacks because basically what you're doing then is you're trying to hit like a 2-team parlay as opposed to a 3-team parlay. If you go with 2 4-player stacks, you just need 2 offenses to do well. Whereas if you do like a 3-3-2, you need 3 offenses to do well. And just from a numbers perspective, I'd rather do a 2-team parlay versus a 3-team parlay in the situation. So to me, I would try to have as few one-offs as possible, have things as concentrated as possible, just focus on a couple of offenses and play things like that. So I would try to, even in single entry, try to maximize getting at least 1 4-player stack, preferably 2, but like a 4-3-1 is still my preferred construction in a single entry lineup? Good question, though, Fitzy. Let's talk to Sivan. Can you rank Arizona? Arizona is facing off with Bryce Wilson. Okay, so that's a change. I forgot to check back on that one later on. They had not announced Mitch Keller yet, so oops-a-daisies. Let's go over here and let's go to Bryce Wilson's numbers and see what he's done since the trade. See if there's been any signs of positivity for Bryce Wilson. Placed on the injured list due to arm fatigue. Okay, so he's coming off the IL to start for tonight. And nope. There we go. All right, so since going to Pittsburgh, he has made 3 starts and looks like he got a couple strikeouts in one of them. In that time, 4.80 ERA. The strikeout rate for Bryce Wilson in that time is 13%. He is letting up a 40% hard hit rate. The ground ball rate the fly ball rate is 38%. So basically still what he was doing when he was at Atlanta. So I think that means we can use batters who are facing Bryce Wilson. The problem is with Arizona, you kind of have to be selective and make sure you're not using duds when you go there. Looking at the Arizona lineup, Dalton Varsho is batting 7th, kind of annoying given how low he is, but he's a good hitter. So I would say he's in play. Ketel Marte, very, very high salaried. So if I were thinking about this within the context of the entire slate, I'm probably not going to be super jazzed about Ketel Marte because I'd rather use that salary on Jose Ramirez, the Red Sox guys, and stuff like that. So I'm okay with him, but would prefer to spend up on other guys. Rojas is good. Move back up to the top spot in the order. I think he's around $3,000 for tonight. Let's go back over here and check out salaries on the Arizona guys. Rojas, $3,000. Yeah, it's fine. Pavin Smith, also not the best option, I would say. So I feel like if I'm like ranking them out, not considering salary, Marte would be first, but after considering salary, I might go Dalton Varsho still, despite the fact he's batting 7th. He's just a good hitter. Against righties this year, and this does include when he was really struggling earlier on, a 220 ISO, 49% fly ball rate. He can steal some bags, hitting the ball super hard. So Dalton Varsho would be one after considering salary. I would go Ketel Marte 2, Josh Rojas 3, Pavin Smith would be 4, and I think that would be the primary options for me on this team. Peralta, just not a big enough fly ball guy. Walker struggled most of the year. It's been a little bit better recently, but I would say those are the main 4 for me. Let's talk to Sivan. Best value hitter for today. I feel like it depends on who plays for the Angels. If we can get Upton in there, I feel like he might be the top guy. I would say that Max Stassi would be in consideration for that if he can wind up playing for today as well. So I do want to see that lineup before I fully commit to as a top value option. Let's go over to the Giants, check out some salaries on them and see if we can get some updates on Belt and Crawford to see if they'll go for today. I haven't seen anything on Belt yet, so it looks like he's probably going to go. If Crawford can't play, that could squeeze in someone else to this lineup, and that'd probably make them pretty interesting. Alex Dickerson is a risk to lead the game for a pinch hitter. Tommy La Stella, less so. La Stella hasn't been as powerful as he was last year, but still at least enough. So I'd say those are some options you could turn to depending what that lineup looks like. Could be okay with that. Oscar Mercado batting 5th for Cleveland. That's high enough for me to be okay with him. I think $2,500-ish or so. Somewhere in that range. Oscar Mercado is $2,400. I think that works too. So Mercado works. I would say the couple Angels guys we're looking for work. And then preferably like La Stella, if we get someone else in there for the Giants as well. I think that they could be pretty good value options too. Check out the Red Sox lineup, make sure we're not missing anyone. Nope, that's pretty customary. Or pretty generic. So I think that should be the primary list for today. DJ, stack Cleveland with the bullpen game for Texas with a 1-3-4-9 position lineup. Their lineup is out. Hedges is not super powerful. So I wouldn't really want to go there. I like 2-3-4 personally. Straw's not a big power guy. I had talked about using him at times earlier on when he was with Cleveland, or Houston, I should say, before the trade. And that was I don't know. It's pretty short-lived. I didn't really feel super enthused about it after the fact. So let's go over here and check out what Straw's done recently to see if there's been some upside in his profile. There we go. All right. So he's still stealing. That's always a good sign. As far as the batted ball numbers since he came over, let's go here and here. In that time, 27% hard hit rate. Pretty underwhelming there. He has only 2 barrels so far. The advanced numbers here, 129 ISO. That's not terrible. That could be worse, I guess. So maybe that's a reason to be a little bit okay with him. I don't know. It's still not the best profile. Let's see what Straw's salary is here. $3,300. It's a little high. I would say if you're looking for other guys in this lineup to use, I would say Mercado. So the 5-hitter there for you, DJ. And then also Yu Chong, I would say, would be above Hedges for me too. So if you want some lower salary guys, I prefer Mercado and Chong over Hedges for today. Let's talk to Jerry. How do you feel about Pavetta and Wheeler? Love Wheeler. Really tough matchup. Facing the Rays, a really powerful team, but they do strike out. 25% strikeout rate versus righties, and Wheeler's really good. I think that you can better justify using a pitcher in a tough matchup when they do a great job of contact suppression. Wheeler does that. Just tremendous batted ball numbers, doesn't walk guys, gets strikeouts, just a really good all-around pitcher. So to me, Zach Wheeler is someone we can turn to even in tough matches, which he does have for today. I think that for tournaments, I might like him a little bit more than Shohei Ohtani. So I'm very in on Wheeler. As far as Nick Pavetta goes, he is facing the Twins right here. There we go. And not the best numbers. The Twins, also not a terrible offense with, despite the losses they've had, despite not having Nelson Cruz, Alex Kirilloff, Trevor Larnach, etc. They're not a great offense by any means, but they can get the job done still. So not super high in Pavetta, but I do like Wheeler a lot. DJ, start Washington's Riley Adams for some salary savings. No, because I like Edward Cabrera a lot. I think, he's also batting 8th. So in front of a catcher or a pitcher. So no for that reason. Let's talk about Edward Cabrera here just for while we're on the subject of him, at least tangentially. Cabrera started the year in A-ball, worked his way up, kept on getting strikeouts, now up to the big leagues. See these strikeout rates, 48%, 34%, 37%. A lot of swings and misses along the entire way. Does let up some fly balls, so, it could go awry for sure, and didn't have the best ERA in AAA, but, also, who cares? It's AAA, ERA. I think he's been great. So I would say if you're looking for a value pitcher for tonight, Edward Cabrera is actually a pretty good one down at $7,300. So I'd rather use him as a pitcher than use batters who are facing him for today. Savannah is asking Texas stack. It's not the worst idea because Plesac is definitely someone I feel okay using batters against. The problem is Texas is so bad. So bad. Let's check out their lineup here. Okay. I could definitely talk myself into Adolis Garcia. Let's go over here and check out the Rangers numbers. So who we can stomach against Plesac for today. Yanni Hernandez batting leadoff. He has had 35 plate appearances, no extra base hits yet versus righties. That's not what you're looking for in terms of DFS. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, not a big upside guy, despite the stolen bases, doesn't hit the ball super hard. That's underwhelming. Nathaniel Lowe, Nate Lowe, 160 ISO. That's okay. Does have some steals. That works, I guess, to an extent. DJ Peters, 56 plate appearances. Okay profile, a lot of strikeouts. Yeah, it might be tough for me to get to 4 guys I want to use here. So Andy Abani is not a big target either. So I would say maybe Garcia and Lowe as one-offs, but it's hard to get to a full 4-player stack on them, despite the fact I am very okay using batters facing Plesac. Savon, can you rank the giant hitters? It does depend a lot on who's in the lineup, and we don't know that yet because of Crawford and Belt. My assumption right now is that Belt plays and Crawford does not. So let's just kind of assume that's the case. If we assume that is the case for the Giants for today, then Brandon Belt would probably be number one. I'm also going to assume Posey sits because he got banged up last night too. So let's assume that both Posey and Crawford are out. If that's the case, I'm still okay stacking them. That's totally fine by me. But I'd probably put Belt 1, Wade 2, Lamont Wade. Maybe that's crazy, but I don't think it is. Chris Bryant would be 3. Yastrzemski's had some issues recently, but still overall really good numbers. So I would go with him next. So again, it's Belt 1, Wade 2, Bryant 3, Yastrzemski 4. Longoria's on the COVID IL now. And it depends on who plays. Again, looking at Dickerson's okay, tends to leave a little bit early for pinch hitters and stuff like that, defense replacements, so not super jazzed about him. Tommy LaStella plays longer in games. Not the highest upside guy, but I would be okay with him too. So fine there. I think that's kind of the main options I'm looking at here. Wilmer Flores might play, depending on the status of Brandon Belt, or Brandon Crawford, I should say. And if he does, Flores actually has good numbers against righties this year. I know we think of him more so in terms of what he does versus lefties, but Flores has good numbers versus righties too. So if Wilmer Flores gets in there, I would like him pretty decent amount. Salary is $2,600, so hopefully Wilmer Flores is in there because I would like him quite a bit. Savon, I like the Giants and Boston together, maybe a little bit of LA. I think that's the Angels. Yeah, the Angels there, Savon. I agree. I think that all those are really good options. Those are actually my top 3 stacks from this morning. Actually, no, the Angels weren't in the top 3. It was Cleveland in the top 3. That was because I was annoyed that I couldn't use Ohtani. So I agree, Savon. Those are all really good stacks for today. Savon is asking for any Toronto bats. No, they're facing Giolito. Giolito's really good. I'll pass there. Diffuse. Do we like a Twins Red Sox game stack? I don't hate it. I'll say that. I would consider hitters on either side. So yeah, I think that's fine. Why not? Jerry. Okay, Jerry's home run calls for today are in. He's going with Juan Soto and Bryce Harper for the home run calls, and likes Franmil Reyes as well. I love Franmil Reyes. I think that he is probably my top 3 for home run calls for today. I've got Kyle Schwarber up there. I like Lamont Wade, and I would say that Franmil Reyes is up there too. So I like those, Jerry. As far as Soto facing Cabrera, don't really want to use guys against Cabrera, but it's Juan Soto, so I get that. Bryce Harper facing a lefty, but again, Bryce Harper doesn't matter. He's a lefty, very good lefty. So I think those ones work. I like Reyes the most of that group. Salvatore says, I'm late, but I'm thinking of going to the Orioles. Okay, they're facing Shohei Ohtani. I'll pass. Ohtani is very good. You know, it's always good to be creative, try to find ways to be different. Ohtani is probably pretty popular for tonight. And as Salvatore saying, Mountcastle came through last night, didn't have enough of him. I had the same issue with Anthony Santander. I love Santander and make jokes about how he's a superstar all the time. Didn't use enough of him. I had some, so it was fine. I had enough to get by at least, but I wish I had had more. So Mountcastle, Santander, both came through last night. I don't think I want to use them tonight, though, against Ohtani. Diffuse says, unless you get the read that Ohtani will be popular and looking for some tournament leverage, I would stay away from the Orioles. It's Diffuse talking to Salvatore. Yeah, so trying to decipher here what to do with the Orioles and the Angels. Again, I like Ohtani. I think that if you're looking for safety on this slate, he's probably the top guy there. He's the one ace. There are a lot of aces, but he's the only ace who's in like a good, easy matchup for today. So to me, Ohtani's the safest guy. I do like Wheeler a bit more for tournaments. Still tempted by Robbie Ray, despite the fact the White Sox are so good against lefties. I just think Ray is a tremendous pitcher, and the White Sox will strike out a bit. They've not been as what's the word I'm looking for? Invincible. That's the word. They've not been as invincible against lefties as they had been previously. So I would say Ray is up there. I'd probably put him after Wheeler. So it's like Ohtani, Wheeler, Ray. And then I'm probably looking at Buehler. I know the Padres are really tough. We saw Aaron Nola almost no-hit them a couple nights ago. And then Woodruff for me, then Castillo. So a lot of good pitchers for today. But again, I do like Cabrera too. I like Josiah Gray. Just a ton of good pitchers overall. Savannah is asking a Tampa Bay stack. No, they're facing Zach Wheeler. He is the best overall pitcher on the slate. No, for me. Trappa is asking for the top 3 stacks for today. So top 3 stacks for me, Boston is number 1. I feel pretty good putting them there against Bailey Ober. Good skill interactive ERA, but it's because he doesn't let up a lot of walks. For DFS, though, we don't care about that. We just want to maximize balls in play, maximize upside chances. Ober lets up enough of those. So I think that the Red Sox are number 1. I like the Giants, still waiting to see what that lineup looks like for today, depending on the health of Crawford and the status of Belt as well. But I like the Giants quite a bit right now. I like Cleveland a lot. Those are the top 3. Angels knocking on the door. So the Angels could get bumped up here if both Crawford and Belt are out. So Angels right in that same tier with the other options. DJ, do you know anything on Patrick Mazeika? My home run calls are Javi Baez, Travis Shaw, Jorge Polanco, and Luis Arraez. I don't know anything about this guy, so let's just look him up. Patrick Mazeika. All right. Starting at catcher and batting 8th against the Dodgers. All right. So when he was in AAA, a 180 ISO. No. DJ, you should play on a site that doesn't require you to play a catcher. I would look for that. I think that could save you a lot of consternation here for sure. Also, check out FanDuel.com where you don't have to play a catcher. Check it out. Savon, Brian Reynolds home run. I think that's fine. I think Brian Reynolds is the one like hyper competent guy on that team. Can always feel pretty good about him. I like the matchup against Gilbert. So Savon, I think that Reynolds is actually pretty okay in terms of a home run call for today. Good hitter, good matchup. I don't mind Rodolfo Castro if he's in there. Didn't see if he was. Oh no, he's not. Sad. No Rodolfo Castro. Upsetting. Michael Chavis works though. He's minimum salary. So if you need a min salary guy, Michael Chavis would be a guy you could turn to there. But Savon, Brian Reynolds, someone I'm very okay with for today. Jerry, do you think all the big arm pitchers' velocity is going down due to the sticky stuff being taken away because a lot of them are giving up runs lately? So it's a good question. Velocity is not something that's tied to sticky stuff, though. That's more so movement. So a lot of times on my podcast, The Solo Shot, you hear me talking about like X starts since this guy's movement started to decrease. Let's actually try to see if I can find one here. Okay, so Nick Pavetta. This is his past 9 starts with less movement on his fastball. Let's go to Pavetta here, and I'll show you the way to find this. You can find it. You can find it on Baseball Savant, but I tend to try to keep most of my stuff on Fangraphs just because I don't want to bounce back and forth between like 16 different sites all at once. But if you want to check movement, go to Game Log, go to Pitch Info, and then select horizontal movement or vertical movement. So if we look here, past 9-ish starts for Pavetta, you see the movement is lower than it was previously. So that could be a deviation. So if you're looking for changes, alterations in sticky stuff, I would check out movement over velocity. With that said, there have been a decent number of pitchers who've had their velocity go down a bit recently. Robbie Ray is one of them. He's been very good with the velocity being down. I think overall, Jerry, it has had a pretty big impact. Like we've seen a lot of guys fall off. We've actually seen a lot of injuries potentially tied to that. We saw Tyler Glasnow complaining about how he thought that led to his injury. So I would not be shocked if that were tied to it. And if you're trying to decide, okay, is this dude someone who's changed? I would check out velocity because velocity can change. Guys can get worn down throughout the course of a year. But if you're looking for sticky stuff specifically, check out the movement, both horizontal and vertical movement over on Fangraphs. Let's now talk to Kyle on YouTube. Second baseman at $2,700 or lower. Let's go over here and scroll down to $2,700. No, I scrolled past it. My bad. I don't want to use Fletcher. Hopefully Wilmer Flores plays. That'd make this a very easy question. So hopefully Wilmer Flores gets in there, Kyle, and you can use him. We'll see about that. Ibanez, meh. Jeff McNeil's facing Johnny Cueto. Cueto's coming out the IL. Maybe that situation where you could potentially turn to McNeil in that situation. Urias is facing Castillo. I love Urias. Not going to get there. I think La Stella works. Again, he does go pretty deep into games relative to some other Giants guys. So I would say La Stella is at least a consideration at second base. Newman, don't think he's the highest upside guy against lefties. 108 ISO, does put the ball in the air, but doesn't really make the hardest of contact. So not looking to get there. Arise, not a super high upside guy either. Van Meter's actually okay. Basing this off of he tends to be super high or super low soured and randomly towards the top of the order at times. So I remember like using him. That does not mean he's like good. It just means that I have used him in the past, but let's check it out here. Van Meter. Oh man, there we go. Okay. 157 ISO, 51% fly ball rate. That's probably high enough. So yeah, I'd say Van Meter's an option. So if you're looking for lower salary second baseman, Kyle, I would say Van Meter's an option. I would say that Listella's an option, and I would say that Flores is an option if he plays. So Flores number one if he plays. If not, we'll go with Tommy Listella number one. Savon, if you had to use a team, would you rather use Pitt or Arizona? Pittsburgh, Arizona. I would rather go probably Pittsburgh. I don't know. I think I can get to four guys I'd rather use there. I'll just pull up the lineups quick. Chavis I'll use. Hayes I'll use. Reynolds I'll use. Yeah, so I think the three guys there, I would say Van Meter, Varsho, Rojas, Marte. Actually, let's go Diamondbacks in this one. Diamondbacks there. Jerry says, I'm catching on, Jim. I was a two-time state champion in baseball. Oh, nice. All-regional Gold Glove. What position, Jerry? Let us know what position you were. Very curious about the position for you there. Cubs, DJ says, Cubs win game one of that doubleheader. Another good reminder, too, to make sure you follow Kevin Roth of RotoGrinders on Twitter, because I didn't realize how bad the weather was for that game. He did. So hopefully it helped me get off Herman Marquez, who I had a couple lineups with. So check him out on Twitter at Kevin Roth WX for all of your weather needs. That is all that we have here for today. Cal's giving his pasta sauce rankings. Where's Pesto in this, Cal? I want an update with Pesto. Jerry said he played shortstop. So update from Jerry. All regional Gold Glove shortstop. Jerry, I'm expecting some good takes on Javi Baez and Francisco Lindor tomorrow from you. Cal says Pesto is last. So Cal's been booted. I will be talking to Joy to try to get Joy around to do the video stuff for tomorrow. As mentioned, we are back here tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages. Swing by then, check us out, and ask away with any questions you may have. If you have any questions for me, I am on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JimSannes. Big thank you, I guess, to Calvin Theobald, despite his terrible pasta sauce rankings, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. We'll see Joy tomorrow instead, if I get my way in this. But we'll talk to you all once again tomorrow. This has been the FanDuel Live Q&A.